Alrighty, everyone. This is the Ogre and the Ass podcast. Hey there, Eric. How you doing today, man?
Doing all right. How about you?
Man, another day in paradise.
Yup.
Gotta love it. So we're back here in the swamp, and first thing we want to do is say thank you to everyone out there for all the support we've been getting. We've been getting so many loving words, great support, people reaching out to us, people who want to come on the show, and it really is that's so endearing to see. And something for us is that we definitely want to get as many people on here as we can. People who can either give great advice like Arthur did last week. That was an amazing podcast with him. Yeah. And I absolutely want to bring him back on.
Yeah, because he definitely was the first one in a long time to convince me not to beat my kid's ass. I'm a huge proponent of beating the kid's ass. And he was like, do it less and do it this way. It's like, oh, all right. I like that.
Just get to a point of not doing it at all. But absolutely. So I'm excited to bring people on here. People are excited for this podcast, and I always hope that we can deliver for them. And I just hope they know how much we do care about them as well. So jumping into this today, our prompt that we wanted to talk about was what business should I start? Because I think a lot of us out there, we always thought to ourselves, what business should I start? Even if you don't know exactly what you're passionate about, you at least don't want to work for someone else. You'd like to be able to have your own company and just build that. And so, not everyone knows what to do or where to start. So one thing I hope about today is that maybe we can even motivate someone or just give them a good idea of where to begin. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree, especially like you mentioned, a lot of people, they do their 9-to-5 jobs. They come back from work beat up, messed up, and they just don't feel motivated to start their own business. And I can't blame them. That's kind of the workforce in this day and age, especially the past 200 years, is just grind and then just die,
Right? Retire at 65 and die.
Exactly. And you don't have any good ideas of your own. So I would just figured, Thomas said, find little things you can do. For example, there's things out there like Etsy. I've seen that artwork, and that's beautiful stuff.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. Like just as websites like Etsy where people can put their homemade stuff on there and sell it. Put their passion into work for them, their hobbies.
Oh yeah. I was going to say actually too, right behind Thomas is the little not the Magic School Bus, but it's from the Harry Potter. Was it book 4? No, sorry, 3. Prisoner of Azkaban. It's the Midnight Bus, and one of my friends in southern Utah made this, and he did a good job of it. And this is what he does on the side, but his main thing is sign language. But he does art too for like a fun gig.
See, I always thought you just bought a picture of a bus from him. So that's really cool though. Yeah, I didn't know what it was. So that's the first time for me. So I'm hope for those of you for everyone who's watching this on YouTube, you can see it. Not very well, but you can still see it. But yeah, I think that's just great. People putting their passion into something and obviously selling it for themselves, and that's something that he enjoys doing. So I guess with this today, what we really want to get into is a little bit of our own backstory. So for me, I know I would come home from work, I'd go to the gym, come back, and I was exhausted. I just had next to no energy, and I just think I don't want to go to work, but yet I still have to pay the bills, and I don't have anything in motion for myself, and I don't want to stop going to the gym because that's how I deal with work. That's how I deal with my stress from work. So it was like a bad cycle. The gym took all my energy, and so didn't feel like I could do anything else afterwards. And then I'd have to go back to work the next day, and I'd hate being at work, and it'd give me so much stress. So I'd go to the gym, and I'd lose all my energy, and
it's a vicious cycle, Tom. Get help.
It was definitely a vicious cycle for me. And so I remember I was sitting there one day in my room. It was a night I couldn't sleep, and I was just sitting there, and I had, for whatever reason, I was trying to watch YouTube videos. I was on Instagram, just sitting there. I was like, I have so much energy right now, late at night. I had no idea why. And I was like, what do I want to do? And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to start a business. It was the weirdest thing. I've never done that. I feel like a toddler does that. But I really did. I went online, we just went to Google first, and I was just really interested in marketing. Because one of our friends who we actually hope to bring on here one day, I just talked a little bit about some marketing he did. So I was just looking into it, and I'm like, man, I can do this.
I can run my mouth. Yeah.
Right? But I'm just like, I can do the simple stuff. I can run digital marketing online for people. I can go and introduce myself to people too and build a network, build connections. That's easy. And so that night, I made my own website. I think it was on ConvertKit. Just something really small and simple, and I was so excited about it.
I remember that too. It's like, he's really going to work on this.
It wasn't hard back then. ConvertKit did most of the work. Now I do it by myself. But
wait. out of curiosity, for the people who are interested, what is ConvertKit?
Oh, ConvertKit is just this website you can go to where you can build websites or landing pages, I should say. So it wasn't much of a website as a landing page.
So is it like Bluehost, or is it part of Bluehost?
Oh, no. It's Bluehost. There's so much more to offer. So I could sit here talking forever about it. But with ConvertKit, for anyone who's starting out and they just need a landing page, like I always recommend that. Really easy. Yeah, there's a subscription that's needed for it, but eventually, if you get enough subscribers, there's a subscription you have to get for it. But anyway, I just went on there, made my landing page, and I was just now going to go show it to people. And the company I created was Rough Stone Marketing, and I just loved the name. I don't know, it just kind of rolled off the tongue. Did all this at like 3 a.m. Well, you know that too. Like, just everything's going complete rough draft, and I just rolled with it. And from that moment on, I had a digital marketing agency where I did a lot of reading up. I bought a Marketing for Dummies book, and I would like watch YouTube videos about social media marketing, email marketing, seeing stuff about like funnels, just learning so much about it. And how, like, for me, what I really wanted with that company was to help start smaller companies, because the more I learned about it, I was like, oh, this is actually really easy. There's a lot of stuff you can do. It's really simple to grow in your local community. And then from that point on, obviously you can grow more and more, but people always wonder, like, well, how do I get off the ground? Like, where do I begin? And it starts with small steps. But first you have to know what you want to do. And for me, why I picked digital marketing is because I was so tired at the end of every day after the gym. I was just like, well, it's not hard to stare at a computer. I can do that. I can respond to emails. I can get on a computer. I can do stuff like that. And that's really where I started. And from there, went on to now I design websites for people, which I really enjoyed doing. Learning more and more about like social media marketing, especially how we're trying to do that here too. And I think this is a great test run also just for our own podcast. As we have the Instagram page now, please go check that out. The Ogre and the Ass podcast. Got to put in our own plug.
Right, it's so embarrassing.
Hey, it is what it is. Got to make it. Dog eat dog world.
I know, right? Kind of sounds like Love Me on this page right here.
Oh, there you go. And just the ideas that we have coming soon. It's some like stuff we're really excited to start releasing. I know for me personally, like I see everything I've learned and I've helped other people with, I'm happy now we can apply this to ourselves. But kind of getting back on track, what business should I start for the person who's sitting there? First and foremost, what are your hobbies? You know what I mean? Like everyone has hobbies and something you can grow off of.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say for me, I don't mind manual labor if it's definitely my business. And so something I've been spitballing with Thomas and a few of our other friends is this. You remember back in Rexburg we were talking about picking up shit. I kind of brought it up back then, but it wasn't until like the last year or two now, living in Utah and Provo now, that we've definitely been talking about it a lot. And so that's something I've noticed, because think about it, Tom, we're in Utah full of white people. And what do white people have a lot of? Think about it. What do they have a lot of? Pets. Yeah. What kind of pets? Any type of pet you think of. But the ones that shit on the ground. All right? So me being me, I have no problem with saying, hey, I will pick up this shit for such an amount of money. Yeah. And I can do this like once every 2 weeks or whatever the bundle package is going to be. Mm-hmm. But I have no problem doing that. It's only a few hours out of my time. I make my own schedule. And so that's something I can definitely do. And more importantly, one thing Thomas mentioned was, doing these small steps, but also having the energy for it and the enthusiasm. For example, he didn't go to school to Google these things. He didn't, you didn't go to, university at all.
Any institute, yeah. No, I was just, unless you want to count YouTube University, that's it.
Oh, that's a good one, actually. Yeah.
Everything I've learned about cars, either from like one particular mentor or YouTube.
Exactly.
Like, everything right there.
So that's one thing I would recommend. You have the energy to just Google these things and YouTube these things, because I do want to say, if it was 3LE marketing and Thomas that definitely motivated me to actually go out more and do these social media things, because at the end of the day, I mean, we live in this great age of the internet, right? So let's make it useful to us. Just don't use it to beat your meat,
Oh, gosh.
I'm just saying it's more out there than just beating your meat on it.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, we're getting there. Okay.
Yeah, we're there.
We're crossing boundaries. We don't care now.
Yup.
Gotta appreciate it.
But yeah, that's what I was going to say about Tom. Just have the energy to do it.
Yeah, and, finding that energy can be hard, too. So for someone listening right now, they're listening to us ramble right now. We're about 10 minutes into this, and they're still wondering, okay, so how does this affect me? What do I do? Okay, so let's just say someone, you just have a hobby, you like to read. I knew a guy in college. Something he did is that he had his own business where people could send them their essays that that they needed to get a good grade on, and he'd charge them like $25 to $50 depending on like the length of the essay.
That's smart.
Well, yeah, and but he was also someone like he did it for like with himself for a little bit. Then he's like, I'm kind of like getting overloaded. People are always sending me essays, and then he's also like, well, and I also don't want to do this. I want to do my own thing. So then he'd actually hire out other people, and just say like, hey, read this essay for $15. Just proofread it. And so people would do it. They're like, that's an easy 15. Read someone's essay. So let's just say again, he was getting paid 25. He'd pay them 15, keep $10, and he didn't do any work. He just hired out the work to someone else. And it wasn't like he was making thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, but he was making money while going through college. And all he had to do was just find someone who needed a good grade on this essay and hand it over to someone who was good at proofreading. And that was his whole shtick right there. I feel like when you're trying to start a business, everyone thinks it has to be like the next Google, next YouTube, Walmart, Target, whatever. And it doesn't have to be that. Your hobby can become something like greater and something just that brings in this passive income. But then also when you're tired of doing it yourself, because obviously people will get burnt out in their own hobbies, you find people and you can get them to do the same thing. We live in a college town now. How many people do you think we could find if we were just like, hey, we have this idea of you just have to proofread this paper, we'll pay you $15 to do it. We could get a lot of people who'd do it.
I'd do it.
Right?
Yeah.
Just $15, I have to read some papers. Like, I'll read a book for free anyway.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll pay you for a book and then read it, let alone someone's going to pay me to read their essay. So there's all sorts of different things too. So that's just with one. Like, if you just have the hobby of reading, then get into proofreading. Something too that you could just do. Go on Google go to Google or go to YouTube and just YouTube how to change the oil in a car. Okay? And that's to say that was your only skill. Well, there's still people who need that done, and you'd be surprised how much a community wants to get around a small business. Just like, I think this podcast is a great example of that. How many people have been supporting us saying like, oh, I can see this blowing up. You guys are doing great. You guys are awesome. You guys are going out there and doing something. When people see that you're trying to do more, they always want to support you because that's what, that's what all these big businesses started off as. It was something small, and everyone knows what it's like to want to pursue a dream. When I started my digital marketing agency, there's a lot of people around me who are asking questions like, so like, what did you do next? Like, how did you get this going? And all these other questions. And you could tell that when you did something, it inspired the people around you. When I did it, there's people around me who's like, man, I really want to do something too.
Yeah.
And guys, like, it doesn't have to be the most difficult thing in the world. Break it down to its most simple things. What are your hobbies and how can you make money doing it? And not saying you're gonna make tens of thousands of dollars your first month, but then if through volume, you can get it up to something like that. My brother right now washes windows. That's not something new age. That's not some nuanced idea. He just washes windows. But through volume and people wanting to support a small business, he's doing wonderful for himself
and
now.
Damn, can he wash those windows?
Right? Yeah, it's a good window. See right out of them, right? But a lot of people, too, you'd think, like, well, why would I want to wash windows? Like, I wouldn't pay someone to wash my windows. I'd just clean them myself. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of people out there who don't want to do things for themselves.
Right. Like, look at DoorDash. And what's the other one?
DoorDash is the laziest thing.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
It's the smartest idea. I did it today. Yeah. I really did.
Oh, that's what that was.
That's what, yeah.
The doorbell? Yeah.
Yep,
okay.
You caught me.
Fat ass.
Hey, man, ogres got to eat too. No, man, I needed me some more bettas.
Get them more bettas.
But that was it. It's like, they just found like, oh, people don't want to just drive 10 minutes down the road to go grab something. They want it brought to them. And it's not like it's probably every day the same customer, but they got enough volume of people who just want it occasionally, like once a month or so. Enough people liked it, and look where it's become.
You know, it's funny. I've been doing that enough to where I got people who know me pretty well. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. One guy texted me, is like, yeah, dude, I usually come to your house pretty quick. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm like, oh, it's okay, bro. I appreciate it.
He's acting like he knows you personally. What's your social security number?
Seriously. But I get it, though. Some people really, enjoy doing that job. And so I respect those who take their job seriously.
But that's right there, too. Something about even DoorDash is that it gives people an opportunity to get extra money on the side. Now, of course, they're doing it through a company, but I love that, though. Like, DoorDash's whole thing is like, yeah, we get drivers, really easy to sign up and get started, and they make a few extra bucks on the side. I think that's great. That's amazing. And for me, that was actually my point of Rough Stone Marketing, was to help other businesses start up, give them a little bit of push or confidence, whatever they needed, or strategy, and then they could go out and make money for themselves. Because I think that's what everyone lacks in the beginning, is definitely that confidence.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that I've noticed, with me and Thomas, especially me in particular, I've noticed that, I'm pretty good at just, I want to say, hyping up people, even when they don't need to be hyped up. I was that dude
being hype man.
Exactly, being a hype man. I was that dude who was like, "Oh, you fighting? Beat his ass. Let's go."
Right. Bet you won't swing first.
Bet you ain't about that life. And
run them things.
Run them, Jaime. And so, so I feel like, Thomas, that's definitely something I've learned to definitely try and use for people's businesses, hype them up, because I have more faith in them doing their particular business than me doing their business. Like, for example, shit picking isn't for everybody, but I can make it a good thing. Doesn't mean you can make it a good thing. It just depends on the type of energy you put into it.
And you know what? I think that's something we should talk about more, is why people are going to ask, like, so why do you guys want to get into picking up, like, crap? And one thing about that is, so I remember I was like a 15-year-old boy, and my uncle was, he was trying to get his MBA, I believe, through UC Davis. And he was just talking to me about business, and he would just tell us, like, guys, like, start a business picking up dog poop. And we were like, what?
I think that's where I got it from, actually. Yeah, I think it was him.
And that was it. And I'm just like, wait, what are you talking about? Dog poop? I'm like, no, thanks. I didn't even have a dog back then. So I'm like, what are you telling me for? Like, I'm just a 15-year-old. I don't know anything. And I don't remember exactly what the project was or how he found out about it. But essentially, like, down in LA, picking up dog poop was like a $10 million business. I don't remember exactly. Please don't quote me on the numbers precisely, but that's what I remember hearing.
This is like, what, 25 years ago? Like 90s?
25 years ago? Eric, I said I was 15. I'm not that old.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. So I don't math. I'm sorry. I just make money.
Sorry, I don't math. I just make money. Oh, man, it's like 2010.
Okay. When you said your uncle, I was thinking like one of your older uncles. That's why.
Oh, but he was telling me back in 2010 about it when he was getting his MBA. And I never forgot that. I was like, really? Like, people will pay that much just in LA alone to pick up dog poop in our local area. And I'm not going to call them out, but there's a company here who does it. And it's just like, yeah, like, there's a business for it, because there's going to be weeks or months or days where people are lazy and they're like, I don't want to pick up dog poop. Mm-hmm. And of course, maybe you get subscriptions. Maybe you get people who are like, yeah, just come do it every week or like twice a week. Or maybe it's just the occasional, I just don't want to go do it today. And I'll pay $5 to have someone come over, pick it up real quick, and be gone.
That was literally me when you were 15. I think I was 13 when I first moved to Modesto.
Yeah, so if I was 15 back in 2010, you were probably like 17, something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like when I first moved to like Modesto from the Bay Area. I remember our neighbor, he had a dog, and he had told me, I think like maybe a few months into me living there, that he'd pay me every Wednesday to come in and pick up poop. $5 a Wednesday. I'm like, that's a good ass deal,
right? $5 right there.
Exactly. And so I did that every single Wednesday, and I took that job seriously. That was my first legitimate job, and I took it very seriously. And I really enjoyed it, too, because I'd even sift through the shit and look at little dung beetles, like, oh, this is cool. It kind of felt like Steve Irwin, like, Corky, look at this.
Okay, so never mind. You just ruined your whole image right there, playing with dog crap.
Well, because the bugs inside of it, all right? I kind of like insects, too.
Okay, at the time, you wanted to be an entomologist, so that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So I was weird like that. Plus, too, watching Crocodile Hunter your whole life, you're like, okay, I'm Steve Irwin.
You're playing with dog crap like I'm Steve Irwin.
I just want to get into
it. That's not a thing. Whatever. I'm not gonna hate on your happiness, man. But that was just where we started with that idea. So people might sit there and like, well, like, why dog crap? It's because in LA people will pay up to $10 million for it. You're not banking on, like I said, making the next top-notch business, but you could probably make enough to where you could leave your job or just get enough to get yourself out of debt, something like that.
I was going to say a quick shout out to the people in Kentucky. Now, there's people out there called the Amish and the Mennonites. Same groups of people, but they're technically a small business because they make anything from furniture to houses to barnyards to just food. And I've been in their stores, and their stores are delicious. So, yeah. So I'm just saying, those people do small businesses, but the people pay them a lot of money for their business because they do good work. So that's a small business. I mean, technically, it's a whole clan of them, But I'm just saying, that's a small business that takes off in Kentucky because nobody really wants to make their own barnyards. So instead, they hire out the Amish community to do it, and they do a damn good job. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And it's just about, the quality of work. And what someone can say, too, is like, let's say it is something as easy as proofreading, window washing, picking up dog crap. It's like, that's not reinventing the wheel. There's not, like, what's the quality, really? Like, with a window, it's like, I see out of it a little more clearly. And that's about it. But one thing, too, is just yourself. People want someone around who makes them feel validated, warm, whatever, welcome, and just stuff like that, man. And how you approach people matters.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember sitting down with a cousin once, and we were just talking about this, going back and forth, but we were just saying, like, what's one of the big things you'll pay for when you go to a small business or anything? It's the customer service you get. I am going to pay more for someone if they make me feel like okay about myself when I go there.
Yeah.
A big business doesn't care about you. They're not going to, and when you get the Karens in there who are like, I'm taking my business somewhere else. Do you really think Walmart cares?
Right.
Does Walmart look like they're going for top-notch people?
Have you been there at 3:00 in the morning?
I have a story, okay? And people who have heard that story already, my Walmart story, clearly we're not bringing in like the top shelf people in there. You know what I mean? And saying that too, I also shop at Walmart, so I can say that.
I haven't been to Walmart in years.
Yeah, I still go.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah,
Man.
Great value. But no, and that's just something there where you definitely can find that more like that appreciation from people who are trying to build that small business, because you're going to see that passion in their eyes. You're going to see that stuff that they want to grow, and they're going to work hard at it. Like, window washing may not be a hobby. No one sits around and is like, so which one of your hobbies? Like, oh, I love window washing. That doesn't happen.
Gets me so hard.
Why, Eric?
I'm sorry.
You can leave that part out, man.
All right.
It's one of those. But yeah. No one has those hobbies, but what you can still do is you're going to be excited because like I'm doing something for myself, and I think that's just the best part about it. And then once you do something for yourself, I think that's when you really begin to look outward too. It's like, man, I did this for myself. How can I help others? That's the point of Rough Stone Marketing. When I did it was once I learned these things, I was like, I just want to help other people start too. I love when you see the inspiration, the fire in someone's eyes, and they say like, I've always wanted to do something. I didn't know what to do or where to start. And it's not a hard place to start. Find a hobby that you like. Maybe if you're just like, I don't want to sound like I'm stealing his stuff, but like Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks a lot about just flipping, going to garage sales, buying stuff, then putting them on eBay for.
That's what David does, actually.
Yeah, and that stuff works too.
Yeah,
but
flipping, like motorcycles and all that stuff. Yeah, it's amazing how many people pay for refurbished things.
I had a buddy who bought an old Honda Civic. I don't remember what he did to it. He just put in one extra new part and he sold it for $2,000 extra.
Yeah.
Right there, within a month, made $2,000 because he put one extra part into the Honda Civic and then he sold it. And that's the $2,000 before like whatever that part cost. But still, I was like, that was really easy for him. It wasn't even a week's worth of work. Made $2,000 right there.
Yeah.
And, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing too. I noticed is people, I guess, in your opinion, you would have to agree, people are probably afraid of the failure aspect.
Oh boy, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
The failure aspect. What do you do if you get in someone like in front of someone like, hey there, sir, I'm running a window washing business. Like, get the hell away from me. I hate window washers. Like you paint the worst picture in your head of what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just not like that. If people don't like you, they don't open the door. Or that's if you're doing door-to-door knocking. But if you're not, like most people, they just don't reach out to you. That's it. There's not really a failure.
Yeah.
Because where do you end up? Right where you are. That's it. Now, if you're going for broke, you're going for a big fish. And however that may look, I don't have the whole like strategy or scheme in my head, but then yeah, that's a rough go, and you're gonna do a lot for it. Like you're gambling essentially, but your hard work is what defines it. I know I've said this before on the podcast, but it's something I'm going to say my whole life, and it's that the work praises the man, and I firmly stand by that. And so for people who do go for broke, and even if they fail, I still love listening to their stories.
Oh, yeah.
I love and give them so much admiration. And you're like, well, that's a scary thing. Like, well, no, like imagine what they learned from it. So back when I was living in Arizona, I had met a couple who started a restaurant and it did not go well.
Was the food bad or was the service bad?
They weren't going to tell me like, oh yeah, we just sucked at cooking. No one's going to say that. Yeah. Like, I guess people didn't like roaches crawling around. Like weird. I thought they loved animals.
Rice protein. What the heck?
Protein on legs. I don't get it. No. So no, it didn't work out for them, but they didn't let that stop them. Like they took from that, and they still wanted to run a business, and they kept trying, and they tried different things, and they just kept throwing stuff against the wall until something finally stuck. And now they had a great home, and for them, like it was just everything was always a learning opportunity. Now we're repeating stuff obviously that people have said before, but it has to be said over and over again because there's no way to get around it. Like, you're going to have moments where you're scared, where you feel like, man, maybe I'm not doing enough. I know I had anxiety just from launching this podcast. So just so everyone knows.
Did you really?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Maybe you were asleep. I remember so the day we launched our first 3 podcasts, I had to go for like an hour and a half walk. I'm going around. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
I had to go for an hour and a half walk, and I'm just walking around like, what if the audio is bad in one of the parts and I didn't catch it?
You're going to be a wreck when you have your first kid.
Oh my gosh. Let's not even get into children. I just need Arthur around. But it's one of those things where I had just had so much anxiety because everything that could go wrong was going through my head. And then we just started receiving so much positive support. People were like, hey, this is really awesome. This is fun. I'm like, well, really? Are you sure? Like, this camera angle could have been better. Or, I know our video quality isn't the greatest out there. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, it's funny because all the stuff that we nitpick ourselves on, nobody else saw that.
That's true. I have noticed that about me, too. I will definitely put myself in a box and say, gosh, I'm not doing this properly. I don't look right. But then when you talk to people, like you just mentioned, it's like, no, that actually looked good. You actually look pretty good. You talked good. I didn't see any issues with you. It's like, wow, me and you are seeing 2 totally different things here.
Yeah. And so I recommend that for people who have a little bit of change in their pocket that can go out and start something. So kind of getting back to what we're supposed to talk about is what business should I start? So we've talked about all sorts of things now, which is just, if you want to just read people's essays, just flipping stuff. And by the way, like the more money you have, the bigger flips you can get into, like flipping cars and motorcycles like our friend David does. And he makes quite a bit of money from that, and he loves it because he loves working on vehicles.
Yeah.
And so now let's say it's something else where you're like, well, I don't really want to do that. And I get that too if you don't want to do certain things, but there's something out there for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I'll have to look it up, and if I can, I'll leave a link in the video below. And so if anyone sees the link, I'll put it in the description where I can, but there was like 150 hobbies that you can turn into jobs, something like that. And it was just a list of everything on there. Number 40, I'll never forget that. Number 40, start a podcast.
Oh, wow.
Right there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Not where we got our motivation or inspiration from, but hey, that's just cool. And it's because there's so many ideas out there, and people want to just get so caught up in, oh, there's all these ideas, all these things out there. Just take a look at them. Some of them don't even cost money. Go start a blog.
Right. You talk about that. Let's talk about like 3LE marketing. That was random. If you think about it, really think about what Adam Ashley Weaker did with 3LE.
Yeah.
And basically 3LE is just for you guys out there who don't know, which is like most people. Basically, it's a way of getting yourself out there on the internet.
Yeah, it's marketing. It's a company that helps other people market.
And the thing is, I use it, and I'm just like, these are all simple things that technically you can be taught, but you just don't get, taught these things. But these people decided to make this to an app. And so with 3LE marketing, it's just like, wow, they teach you how to do YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever products you have, whatever you want to get out there into the world, into the internet, they teach you how to do that.
Yeah.
And they're actually really good people too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, awesome people. You can reach out to them. But yeah, when I remember checking out that app and I was like, all these things on here, I was like, man, I do a lot of this stuff too. And then they have stuff on there, I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. Like all these really cool things out there. And that's just it too. You could just start a business teaching people stuff that you already know how to do. If you're someone like you love video games, you could probably just make YouTube videos of good keyboards to get, good mouses to get, your recommendations on games and what to do. Stuff like that. Like if you were a complete utter weeb, maybe you could just start a podcast or YouTube videos on your favorite animes. Just stuff like that.
That's a thing.
It's a thing out there.
Subscribe to them. Oh, yeah.
And so what business should I start? What do you like doing? I'm not saying love doing, because people are like, I don't know what I love doing. I love gaming. And they're like, well, then what's the chance of me really becoming a successful Twitch star? Okay, well, it's 0 because you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, it's an automatic 0.
Yes.
Just so you know, like every essay I ever turned in or homework I ever turned in, I always got a percentage on it. If I never did it, I got a flat 0.
So you're consistent at times. And you know what? Going back to what you said, that has a lot to do with failure. You weren't afraid to fail. Yeah, let's say you turn in a ass-end, essay, and, you got like a 60% on it. Okay, you got a remedial grade. That's fine. But you turn the next one, you got an 80%. You only get better through time. So that goes back to what he said earlier. Don't be afraid to fail, because when you do fail, that's when the miracles happen, because you can go back to the drawing board and realize, okay, I didn't do this correctly, so let me do this better. And that's something I will say to a lot of our kids out there who are listening, the young people who are like below 18 or who are thinking about these grand ideas. Don't be afraid to get that 60%, because then you can get that 80% later.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's something too, is like, again, let's kind of redefine failure in that. Because again, like to me, a failure was like, oh, our video quality is not 4K. Like that was I thought of that, like that whole, like part of that walk. Like it would come back like, oh, we're going 4K. How many podcasts out there have 4K on the videos? You know what I mean? Like
I was thinking about the Pablo Escobar meme when he's looking out. He just looks depressed.
Like just stuff like that. Like your failures, and I should say like failures, they're just in your head, honestly. Like, yeah, I've probably lost a little bit of money when I made some websites. I was like, oh, that didn't do as well as I wanted it to. But you know what? Like I've already bought the website. I can always make it again. I can go back and I can change things about it.
Yeah.
And it's that easy.
And let's talk about, you mentioned wasting money. One thing I've learned is that, especially, because I'm trying to, do exactly what he's doing when it comes to online, marketing, because I actually like that idea. And I was thinking to myself, how much money do we waste on just DoorDash? So to me, if you were to put money into like a failed business, that's more money well spent than putting it in a DoorDash or something that you just don't actually technically need. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, if I had, hundreds of dollars, I would definitely have no issue with throwing it away into a new page or new marketing ideas and whatnot, as long as I'm growing and learning from that. To me, that's money well spent. At least that's my opinion. Anyway, what do you think about that, Tom?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And one thing, too, about waste of money, I'm going to say it because I'm one of them. Well, I didn't get the full debt, but people who went to college for, let's just say, underwater basket weaving. And
is that a real thing?
No. Oh, okay. No, that's just the joke. It's something that they thought they wanted to use, and now they're not. I know there's a statistic out there somewhere where it was like between 60 and 80% of people who went to college with that degree, like in mind, whatever they majored in, are in a job that has nothing related to that degree.
I've heard those stories.
And it's like, then you're like, oh, I wasted this money. I'm in lots of debt. There's a lot of people out there. And now we can go into the whole, like, well, you put yourself in that hole. Like, we can say that about self-accountability, but regardless, the debt has to be paid off. And people are like, well, like, did I waste my money? And you might feel that way. And if you do feel that way, then your best way to do is really get a grasp of your own life, get control of your own money, and that's starting something.
Yeah. I'm going to say, actually, real quick, that's like a lot of YouTubers, actually, because they'll all, if you follow them, they'll tell you a lot of what they did. Like, oh yeah, I went to college for this and this, but now I'm making videos, and these are like really successful YouTubers. So that's the thing. So there's always the way to recover your money.
And I'm a college dropout. Like I couldn't finish.
And I went to junior college.
Okay, we're canceled again.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, stop. And that's what.
But I didn't graduate, okay? Just 2 semesters, that's it.
You got 2 semesters under your belt? I think I got like 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's right.
Say it with your chest. And that's it. Some people, that's all they got. And maybe if you went for 1 semester and like, that was dumb. And I know for a lot of people, and I had a moment of like this, an episode of, if I can't make it through college, which thousands of people are doing every year, what am I going to do?
Game over, man. Game over.
Right? Like, you just wonder, and you sit there like, what am I going to do? I don't have the education other people have, and yet I still have to compete in this world. Well, funny enough, the people with degrees they get a high-paying job, and then there's stuff they don't want to do, like picking up dog poop. And then that high-paying job now goes to you. Yeah. Some of that money gets siphoned off to you to come pick up their dog poop because they don't want to do it. I went to college. Well, I'm not going to pick up dog poop. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. It's funny. You meet a lot of people who get degrees, but they don't know how to change their own oil in their car. Or people who don't know how to even, power wash properly. All these small things, these small trades, these small little hobbies that you have, and that's what turns into a business. And so it's great. I love the idea. If people want to go to college and do stuff for themselves, wonderful. But if you didn't go, like, there's plenty of stuff you can still do. Because no matter what happens in this world, people are going to be lazy. Mm-hmm. And there's things they don't want to do.
Correction, Tom. I'm going to be lazy.
I'm someone right now. I'm like, I've helped my brother with his window washing business. I would never pay someone to come wash my windows. Unless, like, I had a huge house and I really didn't want to. But that being said, I'm someone who didn't want to drive 10 minutes down the road to Mobetta's and go get it. I had a DoorDasher bring it to me. So just because like you might have some people around you who are like, oh, I wouldn't pay for that. That does not mean there's another 10 down the road who would pay you for it, whatever that might be.
Oh, yeah. And also, just going to say, there's a lot of people who do things off the record, I'm not saying nothing, not to be illegal or anything, but I'm saying, there are things out there, Tom, like, for example, people who do hair and nails in their house. Regardless of the rules behind that, there's a lot of people who will pay money. For example, when I got my dreads years ago, I used to go to a place in Oakland to get my hair did at someone's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just right there in someone's house.
Exactly.
Right,
I don't think they had a degree in it. They just paid, or my mom just paid them. They just did it. Right. And so there are people who do nails in their house. So people out there who are into like, you know, the beauty business, just start practicing on yourself and family members, and then, you know, start I guess slightly charging your friends like, hey, for $10 I will do your nails, and if you don't like it, money back guarantee sort of thing. You know, that's to start small.
Well, you know, it's things like we all have something we're smart in. I totally believe that. So you're like, well, I wasn't good at math, wasn't good at English. Okay, well, were you good at history? Well, yeah, I like learning that. Well, do you know there's tutors that are needed out there? People need tutors. So what if you started like yourself as an independent contractor going around and being a tutor? And then from there, when you find people like, oh yeah, like I want to do that same thing. Oh, well, now you can take on more volume and you can start hiring people on too. It's not the most difficult thing in the world, but you just got to kind of get out of your own mind that you're not going to be a CEO having to wear suits in front of huge conferences one day. Get that out of your mind.
my guys, Tom, we're not Jeff Bezos, okay? Right? We're not Elon Musk, not Donald Trump. Whoever you like or dislike, we're not that CEO.
Right, exactly. Okay? Exactly. But it's going to be something where, like, yeah, you can make plenty of money for yourself on the side, hopefully enough to where you don't have to go to work for someone else. And then when you could probably employ people as they are going through, like, colleges or when they just want a little side hustle, you know, helping people in those sorts of situations as well. You know, and I'm someone who totally believes in karma. You know, what goes around comes around. And when you help people, I believe that good karma is going to come back to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. So for me, in fact, I remember reading that when I was a kid. So I told a story on one of my previous podcasts that I did not know it was okay to be successful. Like, I did not know you could be wealthy. So I remember I'd read this book too after that story. It was like the 5 things to become a millionaire. My brother had gotten that book years ago, like a very long time ago. And I had just found it and I was just doing nothing with my life. It was a small book and I was like, all right, well, let's read it. I read the book and I loved it. And a big part of it was giving back. And he said it too. He's like, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, karma, you do good things, it comes back to you. And he says, pay it forward. So some people are like, that sounds stupid. And whatever. Like, you know, I'm not going to tell people what to do. All I know is that he was so adamant about it. Which one, he was adamant about budgeting, and then he was adamant about giving back. Any opportunity you can, and not cheating people, being honest. And that seems to so many people like, oh, all businessmen are just like these liars. Like people near the 1%, they're all liars. Well, I have a buddy whose dad is definitely in that 1%. And he'll say to this day, honesty is what has saved his dad from lawsuits. Honesty is what has saved his dad with relationships. That has just done him so much good because he was an honest man. But yet he's in that 1%. And so it's just not all true. Of course, we look at all the bad ones that have been liars, who have cheated, who have, you know, messed with the system a little bit, and they've probably screwed over some people. But you can be an honest person and still go a far way in your life. Or if that's not what you're looking for, and you're just like, I just want to make enough money to where I'm just my own boss, I can go jet skiing every week if I want to, just something like that, something small, then you can do that too. I don't think you don't have to create a new idea. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just got to go out there and start small, brick by brick. And that's how you build up your company.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, one guy who I met in Florida, Tom, his name was Marcus Smith, you know, former military, Air Force, but he's a barber, and he does that on the side. And he wants to make it a main thing. He wants to go to barber school. And so that's something he's doing now. But, he, you know, when I first moved to Florida and started working at that child's, you know, daycare facility, I call it daycare, but lockdown facility, I remember, you know, he would always tell people, okay, I do haircuts. So if you guys want to, you know, want to get your hair cut, come over to my house and get it done. So a lot of people, including the administrator, got his hair cut at his house. And he did a good job, such a good job that he actually kind of got a contract job with the facility. So he would do the kids' hair for a certain amount of money.
Right.
And so I was like, wow, he's not even a legitimate barber. He doesn't have a degree for it yet. But on the side, they were like, okay, since you do such a good job as a side hustle, here is your opportunity here to cut these kids' hair.
Right, and people see, yeah.
And these are like kids, and this is like a 70, 80, you know, kid facility. So that's a lot of money he's racking in on the side.
Yeah.
And so just, you know, kind of go back to what you said earlier about, you know, motivating people. You know, he motivated the administrator to be like, oh, you do such a good job. Let's just pay you, you know, to do these kids' hairs. And so he did a great job. So that's something, you know, I was just thinking about earlier, the small jobs and side hustles.
And just being good at what you do. Like I said, go to YouTube University. People are always putting stuff on YouTube, which is like new ways of doing XYZ job. And you can learn new things that way, and you'll figure stuff out as you're doing it. And when people see that you're adamant about like your work, when your name is on your work and you are going to do a good job at it, they want to support that. The work praises the man at the end of the day. And just like for your friend who, like with that barber, you know, he did a good job. And so people saw, like, because he did a good job, like, his reward wasn't just he got one customer out of it, but he got 70 or 80 from the sounds of it.
Oh, yeah, no, he did.
Yeah. And so let's see, some of the stuff we talked about already, which was power washing, window washing, picking up dog poop, tutoring, you know, being, you know, doing hair. There's something out there for everyone. Even if it's video game tutorials, if it's sitting there and just doing YouTube videos on your favorite anime characters or how to even get set up. People have said, you guys should just do a video of how to get set up on a podcast. Like, okay, like we'll probably do that then. Because if people like us can figure it out, might as well teach others. Because the fact that we got as far as we have is pretty amazing. And so don't get overwhelmed by this idea that your business is, like, it has to be the next top-notch thing. It's not going to be. It doesn't need to be. You just need to be passionate about what you're doing. Even if you're not passionate about the work itself, you are passionate that it is yours, that what you do is your name on it.
Exactly. Like, to be honest, as much as I, you know, joke about picking up shit, I don't actually want to pick up shit, okay?
No, who does? Who wakes up all my life?
Exactly. All my life, I like shit. No, that's not me. But something I've noticed is I don't mind doing the manual labor because it's easy money. And plus, too, you know, part of it is kind of fascinating. Like, you know, you have people who will sit here and pay you $25+ to pick up poop. That's fascinating to me. It's like, wow, that's a simple job. Just pick it up. That's it.
Okay, you don't got to use your hands, probably. I don't know about that. We can discuss that later. But, yeah, so just kind of wrapping it up now with all this whole thing is you're sitting there and you're wondering, what business would I even start? What business should I start? And you got to just take a look at the small things. Are you willing to sit there and just read? Because people will pay you $25 to read their essays. College kids want to pass, and they need that good grade.
I might start that myself.
Yeah, why not?
I just live down the street, you know, from BYU. Might as well.
And honestly, like, and we'll do another one of these videos where we go into like detailed marketing of what to do. And it's not hard. There's so many tools out there, especially nowadays. Just Google alone has removed so many hurdles that it's really easy to get your name out there. And so maybe that's what maybe we should do something like that on the podcast. So in case people are like, you guys are liars or you don't know what you're talking about, maybe we should start a business, be completely transparent about the whole thing, just in front of people, build it in front of them. And then we're just like, hey, this is our results this week. This is our results in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month from now. And like, just that. That way they can see it's like we're growing it in front of people, and it doesn't have to be the hardest thing in the world. You just got to put in a little bit of elbow grease and be funny, right? Be funny, be you, be, if you're an introvert and you're like, oh, I don't have the personality though to go out and be in front of people. All right, there's plenty of stuff online that needs to be done. People don't care how funny you are when you have to proofread their essays. They don't give a crap.
Right.
They just want to make sure though, like, are you able to articulate a proper sentence, and can you catch improper grammar and punctuation? Just stuff like that. There's something out there for everyone. And you're not going to create the next Walmart or Target. If you do, good for you. Screw me. Do it. If that's what you want, do it. All I'm saying is, like,
what do I know?
Yeah, right. But I'm just saying though, like, if you put that in your mind that like it has to get that big and that brings on the sense of anxiety, just leave that at the door. Like I did, I had to learn to leave it at the door every time we post a YouTube video or put something up on the podcast of all the things that could go wrong. Maybe something will eventually go wrong. And you have to understand that, one, people are going to be more understanding than you think they will be. Because they understand, too, like, you're human. You're going to make mistakes. Yeah, we're not shooting in 4K. Someone was talking to us about our mixer and our microphones, and they said, yeah, you guys got the good stuff. You didn't get, like, the greatest, but you got okay stuff. And I was like, okay. Like, and I said, well, how do we sound? He's like, you sound great.
That's good.
So it's at the end of the day, it's like, I could be sitting here like, oh, we don't have, like, the best mixer, or our microphones aren't the best. But really, like, I think some of our first comments were, man, you guys' voice, it sounds so smooth. Some of our first comments on YouTube. And really, people are going to be understanding in those mistakes that you make and how imperfect you are. And you have to be patient with yourself, because when you fail or you don't get money as fast as you thought you would, you know, you could just talk yourself down as easily as possible. And you got to be able to knock that off. And I think kind of ending this with positive self-affirmations. You know, like, this will grow into something. I can do hard things. I can work for myself. I don't have to work for someone my whole life. Now, if you want to get into, like, the whole argument, then it's like, well, what about insurances? Like, you know, I have a job, I have a family, I need insurance. And of course, that's a whole nother beast that we can get into another time, dealing with that. And obviously, I don't have my own company that has its own insurance yet, but that's something that I think we could learn about and get into that. And that, eventually I think people should step away and do something for themselves.
Yeah.
So anyway, Eric, you got anything else you want to say to the people about what business they should start?
Yeah, just real quick. Just basically what you just said. Just don't be afraid, to fail, people. Like I said earlier, I think that's the hugest hurdle that just tears apart someone's dreams and ideas in this world is failure. Failure isn't a bad thing. Failure means you can get better. All right? Before there was a car, there was a trashy car. All right? Before there was anything that you like, now there was a trashier version of it. From the flip phone to the iPhone.
Oh,
we've
perfect.
come a long way.
Right?
From AOL to Yahoo to Gmail to what insert mail. We've gotten better.
Well, you know what's funny too is I feel like people like simpler things. I've actually been seeing this. I don't know what it's called, but it's a phone. It's kind of shaped like an iPhone, but it's really simple. It's meant to cut out social media, and we can do a whole topic on that too, where it's like how social media causes like some mental health issues. But it's just meant to be a phone, just calls, text, and music. That's all you can do on it. Oh, it has like a calendar and a calculator.
I had a flip phone like that a couple years ago in Florida. Just a regular flip phone.
Maybe that was it. I don't know. But for some people, they like that simpler lifestyle because it removes the other BS out of their lives. It removes negativity. It removes time wasters, stuff you don't need. I know I could do better with that. I need to do better at that again.
I see you on Instagram with that green light.
Yeah, that's right. Man, I get caught up watching TikToks on there sometimes, man. I'm just laughing my butt off. And that's one thing too. If you're close to me, I send you videos on Instagram.
I've seen them.
Eric's been the recipient of most of them.
Oh yeah, but like I said earlier, just again, don't be afraid to fail. And if any of you guys need help, me and Tom's are always here to help you. He likes encouraging people. I like hyping up people. I like being the really retarded person who just goes out of his way to just get you out there, because there is so much potential that each individual person has, but yet we just don't share that light with others, and a lot of people need that.
And I hope something too is that when people hear this, that they're like, well, I thought about doing this. Like they just put in the comments or they message us directly on the Instagram account. It's like they message us like, okay, well, we'll give you our first ideas of what you should do to start out. This is what I did to start out. And here's what you do. And people will just kind of take that one little bit at a time, because I know it's scary. Each step looks like you're jumping between cliffs, and it's really not. It's baby steps. And it grows, and when momentum grows and people start seeing you, in my personal opinion, what I've seen in myself, it starts growing to where everyone wants to support you, and you're like, oh, wow, like, this is growing into something I didn't think it could. And so anyway, I don't want to ramble on too long about that. And
yeah, that's all I had to.
Yeah. And so anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Ogre in the Podcast, or the Ogre in the Ass podcast. We always enjoy being here in the swamp, talking to y'all. But, until next time, stay the hell out of our swamp.